I was thinking.
Well, that's one thing that has been in the back of my mind, because it's like I want to, like, as I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start making music again. This is great, and it was like gearing up before everything, and then now it's like, wolf. Now I don't get to play in front of people for the next like 3 years. You know.
I'll tell you, I've been playing all the time at home. I'm learning songs that I never would have learned because I'm learning them for me. So obscure, weird shit. And I'm recording all the time and I'm putting it out there so I can play. My voice is doing crazy good things now because I'm singing into a condenser mic. So I'm all these little nuances. And then I get on stage last night and I did a good job and people liked it. But it's weird that thing that was just effortless before, whether I was at a show or we were at Zyla's or I was busking, just this connection, it was like I'm a little bit lost because that's a muscle that you stop using it and it goes away.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There was a reason why, like, people considered me like the front man. Like, there's very much in away from just performing the music and away from like the basics of just like being physically aware and doing things on stage, there is that amount of like interaction and like conversing, but not just with words. There's a conversation with your energy that has to be kind of happening, and that doesn't happen on a regular day. So like going about and doing my things really, like, or maybe on such a small scale that it's not really noticeable.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going for a little hike. I haven't really been out of the house in months, but I'll hike the stairs and it'll be fine. And then I feel like I'm going to have a fucking heart attack and my shins are screaming.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, right. My body's in atrophy because I haven't been performing. I haven't been doing this. So it's the same thing with the live performance. Like I can't even imagine what it would be like because you're so excited to get up there and do it. And then it's like, okay, it's go time. And you're just looking and you're like, the fuck is this?
Much like Lee Reed and Wax Mannequin, like I don't script any banter. I get in my zone, I get up there, and I just like let it flow. And it's real. And when I'm in it, I can trust it. And I look back at some of the things I say, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? That was great. And people connected with it, and it just, and that's the type of thing that like last night, I did it, but it wasn't effortless. It was more work to try and foster a thing that when you're doing it all the time, it's just there and you can trust it.
Yeah.
And you know that when you were just bouncing off the walls and like you just incite these people to like ecstasy by pulling something out of the back portion of your brain that it was not the plan, but it connects.
Yeah, there's more than a few people said that our performance at the saloon at Come Together a few years ago brought them to tears. And it was just like I gave this speech before one of the tunes about like, you know, don't make any regrets. You gotta like, well, for life is a test, right? It was a little speech and told the story about how like I wrote that tune and had a really shitty conversation with my cousin, and they were like you're a musician, like I feel so bad for you. You're never gonna have nice things, and you're never gonna do it, all this shit. And I'm just like, okay, I'm writing a song about this. This is fun. You are. Yeah.
You know what the craziest shit about that is? There's this duality. Oh, you're a musician. You're never going to have nice things. You're poor. Oh, you got dreams. One day you'll make it. One day you'll get on the radio. And at the other side, you got these people that are like, I don't know how you do it. I wish you could do this thing. I could never do that. And I'm like, you know how we did it? We didn't stop. Yeah. That's it. It's like you're in high school, you pick up a guitar, maybe you want to get girls, maybe you want to be cool. And like all these people do it. And 90% of the people along the way, at some point, they just stop.
Yep.
And it's like everybody who keeps going gets really good because they didn't stop. It's like you could do this. All you got to do is do it. And A lot of people have a problem with that. They oh, it's a gift. Okay.
Yeah, they
or maybe
explain it away. The rationalization of giving up on their own dreams.
Yeah. A gift that my parents exposed me to great music. And it's a gift that they supported me and allowed me to have terrible sounding band practices in my basement all the time. That was a gift. But everything else is perseverance and work and just doing it and failing upward.
Failing upward, absolutely.
And it's not like, oh, I'm a musician and one day you're walking out there and you're playing along to people that are losing their shit because you're amazing. It's like, do you know the game Go?
I do, yes.
So Go is like this old Eastern strategy game. And you could think of it like kind of like chess, but like way harder. And there was this quote, and I don't know who said it, but it's like, how do you get good at Go? You lose your first 100 games as quick as you possibly can. You're not going to win. You're going to lose. But by losing, you're learning. You're playing. That's the same with songwriting. I used to work with, I was a can rock guy in the 90s, so I saw Moist and I Mother Earth and all these people.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got to work with them later on. And I booked Jeff Pierce, who was the bassist for Moist. He had a solo project, and I booked him, and I did a press kit, and he listened to my music. I had an album, and I was like, what do you think? What do you think? And it stuck with me. He was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but you just got to keep on writing songs, man, because it's the same thing as Go. It's like you have to write as many songs as possible to get that shit out. Yeah. So that you, one, learn how to write and learn all the tricks, but two, you're not just spitting garbage cliches and you're writing something that's worth listening to. You're not just going to sit down and write your first song and it's going to be a hit and it's going to be like this revolutionary, life-changing thing. You're probably going to use these cliche words like fade away, and you're probably, everybody has old songs that abuse, certain just like, I look back at those old tunes and I'm like, what was I thinking? And it was like, I was learning.
Yeah. And that you need to have a bit of the process to like give yourself permission to just kind of suck and give yourself permission to be learning and be a student of it. I think there's a big part of learning music that we kind of try and sweep the student part under the rug. But that's a huge part of the responsibility of learning music. Because obviously you're learning. Be a fucking student. It's like, well, no, I want to have fun with music. Music's about playing. It's like you don't get to play until you learn the fucking rules, man.
Yeah, then break them all you want. But if you want to play soccer, great. You're not going to be able to play soccer unless you learn how to kick a ball, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to learn the rules of the game.
You learn the rules and then you get to fucking take dives in the World Cup like everybody else. But you got to do your time first.
Yeah.
Same with basketball. Basketball, you got to learn the rules and then, you get in the NBA and nobody calls traveling on you anymore. So
that's exactly it. And the other thing, and I struggle with this myself because unlike you and your crew, I was mostly self-taught. I had a great music teacher, a great guitar teacher in high school. And since I could already play, he taught me more. So I learned the theory. You were just talking about modes. I know about modes. But I didn't go to post-secondary boot camp where I learned, I understand this and I can sit down and I can do some math and I can figure shit out and I understand it. But all you guys, it's there. You just know it because you drilled it. I did different things. And I consider myself a little bit more of a songwriter. But when I'm jamming with Scotty Mack and Dan Krawchuk and all these guys,
Orbit, yeah,
Jocelyn, we're doing a song that we've just learned. There's 5 different crazy parts. They're in different time signatures. There's key changes. And then we're like, yeah, that works. Let's do that in this key. And then they just play it. And we've smoked like 20 joints. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, hang on a sec, guys. And they make me better. I've always played with people that made me better, but I look at that with this sort of wide-eyed, like there's such freedom in just trusting yourself because you put in the time to just know that, and then you can perform.
Yeah.
I can practice solo and I can shred it and I can play it and record it and it'll be great. But it's like, okay, I sat in with Mustache Hat once on guitar.
Killer band. Love those guys.
And they're killing it. And I sit in and I could play and I listen to the song a few times and it comes time for my solo and I'm just like, meh, and it was garbage. I'm not that type of player. And you can't be everything. A lot of those type of players are players and they're not songwriters. And
Right.
it's like, I'm a songwriter. This is what I do. But I still look at you guys all wide-eyed with just being like that knowledge is just there when you need it because you put in the work.
Yeah. The only time I was ever scared on stage with the Belays was when we did our HPO indie series because we were
You
playing
had to play classical stuff.
fusioned classical tunes
Yeah.
in a Belay style with these like orchestral masterminds. It was nuts, but
And
they
it was
were terrified
fun, right?
playing our music.
Yes,
They were
they
like,
did
"This
your
is
music,
crazy."
then you played their music.
Yeah, like Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, and
Yeah.
there was some Dvorak Symphony from the New World. We played some Lord of the Rings stuff, and it was awesome. Like we got to pick the tunes, but it was like I was shitting my pants. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. But you got to
But, like,
push yourself, right? Like doing that for you guys was probably in some ways similar to me being all wild-eyed. Like you guys are playing with musicians there. They're not entertainers or performers. They're like professional, regimented orchestral musicians. And that is a whole new world.
It's very different, but it was such an awesome, eye-opening experience. And like, you know, just before even the first rehearsal, I was like, I'm a better musician.
Yeah.
For having to go through and learn these tunes and put this shit together. Like, it was a lot of fun. But like, that was the only time I was like scared, but I knew it was going to be fine. But like, there were so many shows where it should have been a train wreck. You know, like, again, the famous or infamous set at Come Together, like, I mean, that should, if we were to just list out everything that was happening, it should have been a train wreck. But there's just so much more that went into the preparation and the musicianship that it doesn't matter when someone has to run off the stage without telling anybody to go throw up somewhere.
You just cover it.
We did like a 5-minute jam.
I was
and
there.
Then he ran on stage.
I didn't even know he was gone.
Yeah. He picked it right up and jumps into a tune with us, and it was magic.
Yeah.
It just made it everything better. Yeah. So it was like, okay. But that's not to say you should be an asshole and party your face off at a show. It's the fact that there was a lot of we were in the right place. That's a big thing.
Because the audience was on your side.
Yes.
Because you were incredibly well rehearsed and kind of feel invincible. You know, you're partying, it's your moment. So it's like at that point, anything that can go wrong, it's fine. You'll figure it out. But if you were playing a club in London, Ontario, opening for a band that was from there, and no one in the crowd knew you guys, and people are just hanging around, and that were to happen, that's a completely different story.
Well, it's about calculated risk. I mean, we had said, like, no partying, we're headlining, this is a big deal. But we're at a hippie festival, so, like, things got crazy. But it's about taking those calculated risks of, like, you know, we knew we were safe. We knew we were well rehearsed. We knew the set inside out. And we have a long history of improvising and jamming and playing off of that and being able to read each other as a group. Like, that's something that's really, really important that doesn't even necessarily require that you know everybody in the group. but there's like a part of being self-aware that allows you to read other people in like that musical.
Well, it's
type
a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I used to host the open mic at Homegrown when Dave Gould was away at a gig. So like I'd be jamming with people, playing whatever instrument at the end. And I preferred to play the instruments that were, I like playing the bass or the drums because it wasn't the things I did all the time. But people had such a good time there because it wasn't just like some dudes getting up there and shredding a pentatonic scale. It's like, we're not allowed to play songs. Don't go up there and be like, okay, we're going to cover Heart-Shaped Box. It's like, no, play. What key? No, play. And everybody listens. And everybody, you figure it out as you go, but it's a conversation. And for me, that is fun. And that is something that I don't care how good you are if you've been a bedroom player. You have to play with people to learn. You have to be able to intuit and make eye contact. Always blew me away when I would see Flat Five and Kurt Tweedle's on the guitar and they're doing these crazy jams. And then he would just or he'd give it somebody a nod. And then they would just all know this is, okay, we're going here now. Masterful.
They were always psycho with that. It was like intuition at that point. It would go faster than light.
Yes.
They were so good at those signals in Flat Five. Like every time I would see that band, it would make it a game to try and catch it. And like be just like standing there like,
yeah.
Missed it. I missed it. Like, who called that?
There's danger there. Like they have some structure, but like, okay, we're going to go off over here now, get a little dangerous. And then you don't necessarily know how long something's going to happen or what's going to happen. And you see the musicians on stage communicating and they're having fun.
Yeah.
And that, I think you mentioned this before, but like no one wants to go see a band on stage that is not having fun. I don't care how good you are.
If they're just playing by the numbers, like you could have just sat at home and listened to the record, right?
Yeah. Or if they're pissed off at each other because they've been on tour, or if they're upset because no one's at the show, or whatever it is, no one wants to see that. If you have to be up there, you got to be having fun, and then people will follow.
Absolutely. Well, you got to set the tone, and you got to take the lead. It's your show. And you're leading this experience, this excursion into your fantasy world that you can create with your music. So fucking do it, man. Like grab the leash. Yeah, here we go, kids. Let's go. We're going over here. It's going to get weird.
I like it when it gets weird. I can understand there's a lot of people that want to see things that are like exactly the same as the record. And that is often, for some people, a metric of how good a band is. So they performed it exactly the same as the record. But then you go see that band X number of times and you get the same set, exactly the same as the record every time, and you never have to see them again. Yeah. I want to see a band take some like left turns and reinterpret some songs and make a mistake and recover and just get weird, because I can go home and listen to the record.
Yeah. That's a mantra. That's
a mantra. Let's get weird.
Get that shit on a t-shirt, man.
Yeah.
So we're at about...
You got a t-shirt? MFile. You selling those, eh?
Yeah.
How much are they?
I think it's like 25.
And where can you get them?
Well, we've got a link on the website. They are available through Teespring. But if you check out mfile.ca, I believe we've got a merch section, and it'll take you right over there. You can get one of these sexy shirts. Show up to your hot date. They are fire retardant, I believe. So you're not going to go up in flames. Maybe the date will, but your shirt will make it through. Now where do you want to send some eyes and ears? You've got a couple places.
Yeah, if you go to on the old Facebox, The Human Race, which is at The Human Race Sings, all of my songs of the day go on there. They also go on my YouTube, which is I think it's The Human Race Music. You just search for The Human Race, Hamilton, Adam. It comes up.
I'll put all the appropriate links up for you.
And then if you ever need like video work, album artwork, if you ever need things like help with promoting and press releases and doing an album, and like I don't know how to do anything, go to melodicpixelmedia.com, and like that's sort of my one man sort of jack of all trades. Like, let's come up with a plan and let's do it.
Yeah, and you're the guy to talk to because you've been doing it for years, and
I did it for myself, right? And then I made all the mistakes on myself, and now it's like I'm helping other people.
Works in music promotion, not so good with surgery.
No, don't hire me to like.
I made all the mistakes on myself, and now I don't have too much body left. It's all cut off.
I've done it that way. But seriously, there's been mistakes, man. I'm sure you got some nightmare stories.
For sure.
Leaving my guitars in different cities. We went on tour once, and we got our we left our wallet, our kitty. I think it was Nova Scotia or somewhere. Jesus. And we were staying at some guy's house, and we left it there and realized it the next day and went back, and he'd spent like half of it on drugs.
Oh my God.
We managed to get half of it back, but we didn't really know this guy, and it was like, oh no! And yeah, never make that mistake again.
Well, wallet chains come in handy, I guess. That's
valuable lessons. But that's part of the issue that's probably gone now. We get paid in cash at gigs, right?
Yeah.
Like part of the discussion I've had with some promoters is that gigs are going to be done. The band will manage the door and have their own like Stripe account or whatever, so that the payment isn't even going to the venue on like digital because tax reasons.
Right.
And the band handles that. And as much as I love cash, because I'm also a street performer, I busk all summer, which is why I'm hurting this year. It's like, I just love the interaction with people. Yeah. But people aren't going to be using cash anymore. So you have to have that infrastructure available as a band to be able to take people's tappity tap tap.
Yeah.
And I suck at that.
It's so much easier to get merch sold too, like getting a shirt or a record sold when you have a debit card, because the cash they have on hand is going to be used for beers. Like that's it. So it's like, oh, well, I'll just tap into your savings and take my record home with you.
Give it a tap. It doesn't hurt. It won't hurt until you get your bill.
Yeah, you go buy a couple drinks and then you wander over here and I'll schmooze you and do my car salesman spiel and you'll buy like 6 albums.
Yeah, why not? And I think that like that will happen again. Like I really believe in, if you're going to release anything physical these days, you have to release vinyl. Because I go to enough shows where I see people buying 2-3 records, physical vinyl, because they're attached to that. No one buys CDs. No one wants to buy a download card. You know, people will Spotify you, that's fine. But for me, like, let's see if we can show you over here. I got all these records here. And I got all the local bands. Because when I'm at a show and it's like, oh, I can take you home and listen to you on vinyl, like, I'll buy that. I'll feel good about it. And that, for me, this was going to be my big year for, like, I was going to record a new album with the band. I was going to get everything set up. I was going to release a vinyl, which I've never done. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, no, we're going to rethink that. Because, you know, you guys, you were telling the stories too. It's like, you know, you play the gigs, you get a band fund, you save all the money, you're going to put it into this thing, and then it's gone. And what do you do? And that's what it sort of feels like this year in terms of like the gigs that were lined up, that were sure things that were going to pay for all this.
Yeah, that's the fund. They're gone. Now the plan is shifted. Like, we got to do something else because that shit still has to happen. Yes. How do you do it? That's the new adventure, I guess. But
well, according to Spotify, you know, artists they got to be releasing albums every 6 months now. They can't just release an album every 2 years. release, and then get your 180th of a cent per play.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like 0.0001 or something, and it's not even guaranteed that it's going to be like a universal, like, because the record labels are collecting different royalties based on secret deals they've made, so it's all bullshit. But
it's, you can't expect anything.
Just what a cock! Like, honestly,
jump through the screen, kill him.
I get the heart of sort of what he's trying to say, but it was just so wrong. Absolute garbage presentation on the wording and everything. Like, just so insensitive and out of touch with the reality of how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you were saying, content is king. You have to keep writing. You have to keep making songs. You wrote all these songs. You needed new songs. You wrote songs. You put in the work. That's one thing. And that draws from, like, your creativity and your well of experience. But let's say you have all these songs. You still have to go into a studio, pay some people. You got to bring in the band and have time to rehearse it right. And you got to mix it and master it. Oh, you're releasing a vinyl. You got to master it for vinyl. You got to hire someone like me to set up your artwork. And to be like, oh yeah, just do that every year, twice a year. That's how you make money. It's like, where are all these funds coming from?
Yeah.
Where all these musicians can afford to just go into the studio once or twice a year and release a proper quality album.
Yeah. Weaponized Magic was 12 grand. And like, we got lucky on a lot of the things. Like, that should have been a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Like, I can't afford to do that every 6 months. And like, that took a lot of work and fundraising to get that money in the first place, know? So it's like, I don't know where that money's supposed to come from if it's not having that amount of time to make it.
Yeah, and I think you guys did it right, because you did a pre-order thing, right? Or like a Kickstarter or something. So
yeah.
Say, okay, there is interest, so we're not necessarily wasting our time. Because we've all done that thing where you order 2,000 CDs, sell a couple hundred,
sitting in a box,
1,800 CDs in the basement.
Well, you get a deal.
Yeah, you do.
The savings, You
have beer coasters for life.
Yeah.
And I do.
Oh, but Jay still, years and years after the First Time Fallen record, they had so many copies of that record. And it's like amazing. I miss that band so much.
That was what I toured with when we got our shit stolen. It was Kirby from First Time Fallen.
Oh, yeah.
And, I used to listen to those guys, the all ages shows. They were great. Yeah.
They were so good, and they put that album out, and then the band just dissolved.
Yeah.
So he was all, like, anytime a new person would come over to the house,
have a
he'd
record.
be like, hey, you want a CD? Here, take 3. Just like hand them out. But then the next time you'd see that person, they'd be like, this is amazing. Like, this, I can't stop listening to this album. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's good viral marketing in that sense, just using CDs like business cards. Like, that's kind of all they're worth anymore, right?
Paper sleeves, and I would design a cover and print it out on my, like, color printer and glue it to the sleeve and burn a CD and take a stack to Dr. Disc and leave them on the counter and be like, when people come in here and buy stuff, they could take them for free. And then you'd be on the old internet message boards, or like, when you used to have websites and they would have guest books?
Yeah.
People would review them and they'd actually listen to them and comment on them. And there was something about that feeling of like, do it yourself. It's like, we don't have a label. We made this thing. We just put it out there and people actually listened to it. That went away. When I was at Homegrown, I have stacks and stacks of CDs that I could never even listen to. Someone would give me a CD. I would go home and look at the website and listen to it online and throw the CD in a pile. Because those days are over. But there's something really nice about like people caring enough. It's like, here's a CD and you're actually going to listen to it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, your Weaponized Magic has been in my car now for 2 weeks. So I'm driving around in the summer, and it's making me feel good.
Well, I'm glad it's still able to do that. Like have the intent and the magic that we put into it like actually work.
Yeah.
You know, like that was it. It was like all the ideas and all of the values and the mission of the album was like it's party time, it's feel good, and like just like that album. You know, like for me, I think I still have it over here. Like Chicago Transit.
Oh, we were talking about that, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, this album for me is always you throw it on and you just instantly get that whatever French word you were saying at the beginning, Frangzals or Frankensteins or whatever.
You get the tingle in the back of your spine.
Yeah, the frenulums. Yeah.
Yeah, the frenulums. That's the band name.
The frenulums.
I like it.
But it that was kind of like the guiding principle of like we want the album to do that for other people.
Yes.
So to have, you know, like 3 years later now, and people are still every once in a while like, man, I just found that album, threw it on, and it just hits you like a ton of bricks. It's like, fuck yeah. I'm glad those bricks are staying sharp.
They are.
You know?
Good driving music. I'll give you that. It's like, yeah, I'm driving.
You'll get to where you're going about 15% faster. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, when I get tickets, I'm gonna send you 15%. I'll send you a bill for 15%.
Well, I mean, my partnership with the band has been dissolved for a few years, so you can take it up with them. They'll.
Okay, so what? There were 5 of you in the band, so 15% divided by 5. You can afford that. What's up with you and these tunes you've been writing? There was that one you released that I said sounded like drugs.
Yeah.
Is that?
And I was like, mission accomplished.
Yeah. Is that something that you are going to be performing live, or was that just an experiment for you to see what you could do in your downtime?
For the most part, like obviously my heart is always on stage. I am very much a performer.
You're a dad.
The likelihood of doing it in the immediacy wasn't going to be happening anyway. So a lot of time was spent like putting together ideas and trying to figure out like I just need to be making music because I wasn't, and I didn't have a reason to, which funny enough, like you kind of just stop and you don't mean to, but when it was Belays, there was a reason. Right, I got to write a new tune and throw this in. We got to, you know, we're doing this. We're doing that.
We gotta go.
Yeah, there's a reason to, and you just think like, well, I'll just always be writing music no matter what, and that's not always the case. Like you kind of have to give yourself a reason to do it, and that changes like the psychological approach to it. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna start this, and I want to just be making music again, and there's a few demos. I think I've got like 10 demos, so I got to kind of work them out a little bit. There's one that's like almost ready to go, but I put it out. It was like an experiment just to get the system together.
Okay.
And then I had to like, okay, now I got to focus on this, put this show together, get this system going, working on programs, everything like that. But Laser Monk is an ongoing thing. It's not like a one and done. So
yeah, well, that's good to hear.
Your eyes and ears peeled.
Did you mix that all yourself? That was all just at home?
That was everything in this room.
Testament, you know, to just doing it.
Yeah. Well, I knew a little bit about sound, and I've been very lucky to be able to sit either right beside or peering over the shoulder of some really, really talented motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
Like Phil Spencer, Josh Hanf, and Lance. He was like, we got to do a couple sessions with Lance at Humber. Scheibler. I apologies, I can't remember his last name, but he was like the go-to guy at Humber for a lot of those sessions that people were doing, and I was very blessed to be able to work with him a couple times and just like sit and watch and ask questions and things. And then it was like, okay, well, I got to do it. Like I got to just figure it out and tweak things and, you know, make it work. And it came out a lot better than I thought it was going to, which is like a thing where it's like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Like, what if it sucks? Well, you can not do it,
Or
and then you don't do it.
Like that's the thing. Like with something like that. Well, what if it sucks? It's like you got the stems. You could give it another go. You could bring a friend that knows more than you, or someone could listen to it and tell you why it sucks. They'll be like, "Yo, your mids, man, cut your mids, and it fixes all your problems." And you're like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that." But simple tricks.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, okay, I got that out. It happened. It exists. Throw like 9 more down the pipe, and with the idea of like releasing every couple weeks and making an album.
Yeah.
You know, piece by piece. That's really the only plan I can think of right now, because having that time and effort and energy and money to put into one big project all at once for that amount of time, it's not there.
Well, I would even recommend, and most people have caught on, but even in this prior to COVID, it doesn't make sense to put all your time into one album and release that album. Like we were talking when you were doing some Alto Belays promo, it's like you have things lined up so that you can release them over time and get more press, because it's all about immediacy. Yeah. So it's like, I would like to do a thing where I have an album that I've recorded. It's taken so much time to do. And then I release a song and a video. And then later I release a song and a video. And later I release a song and a video. And then you can buy the whole album on vinyl. But like stretch it out, because you're putting so much money into it. And you're going to get pressed for 4.5 minutes when you release that album, and then it's over. Yeah. Then it's like back to the drawing board. Got to do the next one. No.
Yeah, you got to milk it. And by that point, you know, you put the time into like the release of a song, the release of a video, and you do that 3 times. Yes. Now there's engagement and investment on the part of the audience and the listener, right? It's like now when an album finally comes out, they've gone through 3 of these journeys with you.
Yes.
So when this comes, you're like, well, I don't really know if that's worth putting the money into.
No, I like those tunes. I want these other ones. It's like, okay.
There's more. I can bring it home. I can lean it up on the wall and just stare at it for a while. Like,
yes. Okay. That's my goal in life, man. If nothing else, I will release a vinyl. I will frame it. I will put it on my wall. I will say I did this. And then I will dissolve into the universe.
I will become the 5th dimension and
you can get your ashes printed into a vinyl record.
I think that would be something I would
I think that would be a great way to go. But for me, when I was probably 1999 or 2000, we were recording our first record. And when we got it pressed and it's shrink wrapped with all the artwork, and it's a CD that you can buy, that was a feeling of, I did this. We have a CD. It is real. You can listen to it. And that was back when people bought CDs. So it meant something. Mm-hmm. Now, CD's a coaster. So you want to chase that dragon? The only way to do it is to release a vinyl.
Yeah.
You know, that's the echelon for me. It's like, I want full circle. Listening to vinyl when I was a kid, dropping that needle down. It's like, I just want to do that once. I will make the money, save the money, pay the money. I will do whatever I got to do to get that done once I can get in a room together and jam with my guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we made Weaponized Magic to be a vinyl. Like, it was always planned out that it was going to be vinyl, and then we just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been talking with Bruder and Jordan, and because Jordan was just like, man, when's the last time you listened to Weaponized Magic? I was like, probably like last year. I found some files for it on my computer, and he's like, me and Bruder listened to it like 2 times in the car driving up to Port or something like that. And he's just like, it was so like, I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. And I'm like, yeah, like we should be. You know, it was a really good record. And I still think there's a possibility. I still think that there would be a possibility to make that into a vinyl. Oh.
I will buy it for $30. Let me see where my housemate was putting on the blender, so I was escaping.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
And I will convince 10 other people to buy it for $30. And then we get all of those other 10 people to convince 10 other people to buy it for $30. And then you're done. You're good to go.
Well, it'll cover the cost, and then we'll have a bunch more ready to go. So
yeah, I'm just having a vitamin cigarette. I was supposed to quit, but it's been one of the only things that's been getting me off through the COVID. That and my garden. You see that shit?
Oh, it's beautiful.
I got tomato plants that are 7 feet tall over there.
Holy shit. What have you been feeding them?
People. Neighbors. Stray neighbors.
I knew I shouldn't have showed you Little Shop of Horrors.
Anyways, I'm cool to continue talking as long as you want. I just want to make sure that there's nothing important that we haven't touched on, because we've been all over the place, man.
But that's kind of the point.
It's been fun.
Like there's a handful of things that I'm like, I want to get to, but they will happen. Like I'll seize my moments when they come around, because there's a really good chance it just comes up in conversation anyway.
Yeah.
And I like just having a conversation and not being like, so when you were 12, like, tell me about this, you know?
I was way less interesting when I was 12, let me tell you.
Well, like, because I know the people, like, I've already got a bit of the research on, like, what they're expert on or what they'd be really good talking about.
Yeah.
Push that out of them.
Well, it's just like we're shooting the shit. We've had these conversations on my couch.
Yeah.
There's no camera, so...
Well, it's good that it's like, this is a dedicated hour and a half, whatever, to just get it all out there and be a concentrated vitamin cigarette shot, except no cigarette. So I don't know. It's a bad metaphor. The coffee's worn off. I've been up way too. We got a little inebriated yesterday at
me too. Yeah.
The celebration of life for Justine's uncle. But it was a really beautiful thing. Just like all the good tears, you know, like the.
Well, I'm glad that it was one of the good ones. Those are hard, and you don't always know how they're gonna play out. Especially nowadays, because like I don't know what's going on now, but for the longest time, you couldn't even go say goodbye and pay respects to somebody because of the virus, right? That's the extended grief we're all going through in the world. It's like this thing's been happening and it's prolonged, and there's no form of closure. It's open-ended. And so how do we deal? Like I make music and smoke too many cigarettes. I'm supposed to quit. That was going to be my COVID goal. Now I'm like, maybe I'll just write another song.
I mean, it's kind of inspiring to see, like, we're very lucky to have so many creative, talented, musical or artistic or otherwise people in our lives, and seeing how they're using it as both a coping mechanism, but also like the output to help other people cope.
Yes.
To give them something to deal with, you know, like it's a really amazing thing to see the resilience of the art community that we've been able to surround ourselves with, and just being like, free hugs, like just get it out there, feel good, you know, like it's crazy. But
people have been really good at lifting each other up, and we need that. What I got last night, which was the best thing, and it was like, there were a few people at this show that knew me and the other performers, and there were a bunch of randoms that were just out. And this one guy comes up to me after, and he's like, I don't know him. And that song you sang, the song is called The Future. And the chorus is, we're living in the future now. And he's like, we're living in the future now. And he was like, ah! And I was like, this just makes the gig. That right there, I don't take your $52 that I made and throw it away. That's because you write a line, and I played a few covers to please the crowd too. But like one of the lines I wrote, stuck with some guy, and I was like, wow, thank you. That's fulfilling.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I think first, before the one thing, before we take off, because I'm about to melt, it's like 35 degrees outside and we got the lights going on and I'm just like, so is there anything new and exciting happening in the orbit of Orbit?
We are talking right now about getting together and rehearsing soon.
Cool.
In a kind of socially distanced different way than we have in the past, because there's 5 of us and we all sing, and we would all smoke like 7 joints and get sweaty. We're going to figure out a way to do it it was at my place, which is a small rehearsal room. We're going to do it somewhere else. And Dan, I don't know if you know Dan, he's a Song Factory. You should talk to him on one of these.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, he's got songs and songs and songs. And all of his songs are like, he's got like 5 songs that are part of a mini saga that's like a Star Wars type. We've already done 2 of them. The one of them is about a man that gets transformed into a moose. And he's like an anthropomorphized moose moving through the world. There's one where there's this crystal that this guy finds, that there's 2 halves to the crystal, and he searches the world and puts them together and the magic happens. It's Star Wars fantasy shit. And he is a never-ending well of creativity. So I'm going to walk into this thing and he's going to be like, yeah, this one's easy. And it's going to have like 27 parts and and it'll be a pleasure when we can figure out how to actually play it. But no gigs. We were going to do Come Together in May. And then when it was postponed, we were like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to the one in September to play it safe. And then I think it might be time. We've been talking now. We've been a band for like 2 years. We have 2 sets of music. So what we'll probably do is start rehearsing and then figure out a way to record an album. And then I will convince all these people to do a vinyl. Because we're going to have to experience Orbit. Ooh, it's got to spin. It's got to orbit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's like,
yeah.
So final thought, because now we're living in the world of video conferenced music performances. So I think one important thing that you mentioned briefly was shot composition.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
So tell everybody out there in music land your tips for properly framing a shot and making sure it's going to work.
Okay, so number 1 is you learn the rules and then you break them. So these tips aren't always applicable, but learning them is super important. And I can show you now because this is in my hand. Oh, that's not right. Let's do it like this. You don't want to do this. Bad. You don't want to do this. That's too much headroom. The space between the top of the screen. Usually, you want your head to be around here. You want your eyes to be somewhere along the top third of the screen. This even works, cutting off the top of my head, depending on how close the shot is. And I think that's really important just to make it feel normal. I see a lot of stuff where people are playing and it's hard to do it from this angle because this actually looks pretty good. But like the top part of the screen is just nothing but a blank wall, and then they're all down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I find is really important is like rule of thirds. I've been in the middle for most of this, which is fine. But when I do my videos,
you're off to the side a little bit.
Rule of thirds, that looks nice, right? But what doesn't look nice is if I was doing it the other way and all the space was behind me. Whatever direction your eyes are going into, that's where the extra space should be, like as if you're moving over here.
Right.
Because that's of interest. And that, I think, is a really important thing. Like if you're composing your shot and it's just you and a guitar, the guitar itself too has a natural point, right? You got the neck. So if you're pointing that neck off into a space where there's some background, some negative space, it draws a nice line with the eye. Just make sure that, your eyes aren't here or here.
We got to know that you're a person. We got to be able to look at you.
And don't do what I'm doing now and be backlit. Really, if there's a backlight like that, you're going to want a key light, even if it's a lamp lighting the face. It's hard when I'm outside here to get any angle. But see, there's good. I'm not backlit. I look good. But I was posting these things early on in the pandemic because I saw a lot of people posting videos that they kind of look like crap with their phones. Yeah. But also, it's like no one wants to watch a video where you're looking like this, right? And again, if you're just playing in your house a song, or you're doing a podcast or whatever you're doing, you can put a poster in the background. I have a Mogwai gizmo that is sitting underneath my band logo on a suitcase, just in the background. I have a weird rat. I have a bunch of things that are just sitting there as like Easter eggs. I have old band posters on the walls. So like you can make a set, you can hang a sheet, and instantly a sheet and a couple lights, and you got a set.
I just got a thing. I'm trying to figure out how to set it up so that it's behind me so you don't just see doors. Because I know that this sucks, but this is literally the only background that I can get doing this way. I would have to knock out some walls because rearranging your room.
Paint that whole room green. Paint the doors green. Paint the doorknobs green.
Yeah, fuck it.
And then just do it out after, and you can put yourself in outer space.
Oh, I do have. I've got a white sheet, a black sheet, and like chroma keyed green.
Yeah, you hang a chroma key and then you can put yourself anywhere. But again, for something like this, it's a little less important. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And whatever. But if you are releasing a video, if you're doing a weekly podcast, like take 5 minutes and have a look around the room and just make it look visually appealing. And it goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we've done it.
Well, Adam Carter, the multi-talented wizard of, I could say Oz, but it's not that's not funny, and it's got nothing to do with anything. So
and I don't know how much of a wizard I am. I'm Jack. Just call me Jack.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of a bunch of trades. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I saw a random retro post of that show with Bruce Campbell from 2000. Do you remember that show, Jack of all trades?
No.
It was like a Xena style show, like that cheap, Xena really? and Hercules and those kind of shows. It's just and there was another Kevin Sorbo one when he was in space. It was always on Global on Sunday.
Terrible.
Yeah, so shit. But Jack of all trades. Anyway, Adam Carter, go check him out. For services, you go to Melodic Pixel Media.com. And then at the Human Race Sings on Facebook is the best way. But you get the Human Race.
Thehumanrace.ca exists. I just haven't updated it in a million years. But it'll point you to my YouTube, I think.
Yeah. And Orbit. Where do we find Orbit?
Orbit only exists on Facebook right now. I believe it is
Orbit
Band or Orbit from Hamilton. But it is ORBIT. And
again, I'll find the links.
Yeah.
I'll get you where you need to go.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure hanging out with you today. And one day in the near future, maybe we'll even do it in person.
A socially distanced whiskey on my porch, what I think is
I got this sweet deck that I've been watching Star Trek on with a few friends. We just spread out and watch some Star Trek, and no one has to touch it.
TNG or DS9?
All of it. We're nerds. So basically, we would watch the new Lower Decks is what we did a couple weeks ago, which I believe is terrible and I hate it. And then we tear it apart and then cleanse the palette with like some TNG or DS9, even Voyager or Enterprise, man. Any of that's better.
That's funny. The more new stuff comes out, that like middle track now starts looking a lot better.
A lot better. Oh, yeah. I even rewatched the TNG movies and was like, I don't care. This is way better than Picard. Star Trek Picard made me angry, dude.
Oh,
anyway, I think that's a good way to leave it. Live long and prosper. And
right.
Yeah,
take care. Give my love to Pamela and the cats, and have a good time.
That's cool. See you, Internet. Thanks.
Take care.
If you want to learn more about any of the topics discussed on today's episode, or if you'd like to expand your horizons so you can make the most amount of impact with your music, please be sure to check us out at mfile.ca.